Shalom, brothers and sisters. I've been instructed by Yahweh to address a particular matter, a controversial, somewhat sensitive matter and subject. And that is, of course, answering the question, addressing the question above. And that is, of course, can a woman occupy the positions or offices of the bishop, the apostle, the prophet, the teacher? And I am led to specifically address this on this platform. And the short answer to that question is no. A woman cannot occupy the offices or the position of leadership positions of a bishop, an apostle, a prophet, a pastor, teacher, etc. And of course, this particular video endeavors to explain why. The purpose of me is not just to come in here and say no, right? That's Yahweh's instructed me to come in here and to explain the why behind it. And so therefore I will do so. And so firstly, brothers and sisters, and particularly you, my sisters, you must understand jurisdiction. In order to properly understand why the answer is no, you must understand jurisdiction, right? And so jurisdiction means it is the legal right or authority to occupy or to do a thing, right? It is the authority or right to do something, and particularly oftentimes within the context of a particular area or boundary or sphere or situation, right? So jurisdiction is the legal right or authority to do a thing, to perform an action, given the boundary, area, or region that you are currently occupying within a certain context, right? So, why do I say that? Well, as you know, brothers and sisters, and I'm gonna try to be as streamlined as I can. I don't want to be jumping back and forth. I want to just simply be streamlined when I explain this. And so we must understand that Yahweh in the beginning, as far as Genesis is concerned, said he provided a pattern, right? And that pattern was, of course, after the fall, Yahweh made a very important statement to say that your desire to, according to Eve, right after they both, again, it's not about, anyway, I'm trying to save time here. So after the fall, Yahweh made it very clear to Eve to say, part of her judgment for what she participated in as far as the fall, that part of the judgment would be now, there's those who suggest that what I'm about to say is as a result of is a part of the judgment in terms of being placed upon her as a result of the action, as far as not only childbearing, but of course what I'm about to say as far as Yahweh making it clear that man shall rule over you. Now, that is not necessarily, I want to be careful. Anyway, let me not go there. Let me just say that Yahweh made it clear that that was the precedent or the law first mentioned in regards to what is identified as male headship, all right? And so this was also corroborated by the Apostle Paul, right? This is not a one-off, and this is not what it gets to as far as addressing common responses to this truth. There are things that women and other men who are Ahabs, who endorse this kind of behavior, well, certain scriptural references that they will draw to in error, in hermeneutical error, in conjectural assertions and interpretations. I will address those at the end, as quickly as I can. So the Apostle Paul affirms this ordinance that Yahweh gave in Genesis by saying, in Corinthians, of course, and it is also related in the context. That context is also related to what I'm going to be addressing. He said that the head of every man is Christ, is Yeshua HaMashiach. The head of the woman, though, is the man. Those are two. And of course, Cephas says that wives are to be subjected to their husbands, right? These are the patterns of male headship. That is an ordinance that we adhere to in time, and especially within the jurisdiction of the kingdom of heaven, of the ecclesia or the church. Because as I'm going to get to, the world is not under the jurisdiction of the kingdom of heaven. Though Yahweh is sovereign, right? Though Yahweh ultimately, sovereignly rules the universe, his jurisdiction is not necessarily the world. As we know, the Apostle Paul said that the adversary, by reason of him usurping Adam and Eve, he still goes full circle. Yahweh entrusted the jurisdiction of earth to our species, brothers and sisters. But unfortunately, the adversary usurped it. That doesn't mean that we do not still occupy it. But that's an whole other can of worms, right? Nevertheless, Yahweh gave man the jurisdiction of earth. And so that is why he implemented priesthood or prayer, because prayer is authorization for him to interfere into the affairs of earth. And that is why the adversary also uses priesthood, like witches and warlocks, to enact his will on the earth. By reason of our jurisdiction of earth, brothers and sisters, spirits need our clearance. That's one of the can of worms. Going back now. So, with the advent of the new covenant, and particularly of the fivefold ministries, the Apostle Paul made it clear that in the new covenant, these particular offices, with the prophet included specifically, that these are these positions fall within the jurisdiction, of course, of the body of Christ, the ecclesia, the church. And the job description of these particular offices is to equip the saints. In other words, they are governmental. Listen carefully, brothers and sisters, particularly you, my sister. These are governmental positions that are in place over the holistic ecclesia. It doesn't mean that these people are better than anybody else. We're all the same, right? However, though, it is a matter of leadership. It is a matter of government. No differently than the President of the United States. I got to be careful with my comparisons. It is a matter of leadership, right? So, Yeshua HaMashiach specifically enlisted the fivefold ministries as referenced in Ephesians 4 from 11 onward to equip the saints. So these are government, and the Apostle Paul also in Corinthians said that the foundation of the church or the ecclesia is the apostles, the prophets, and the teachers. And so that doesn't mean that these people are better than anybody else. It just means that they occupy leadership positions in the body of Christ. And the leadership positions are governmental seats of occupancy that they exercise over the ecclesia to equip the saints. And so when you exercise that kind of government, it is a leadership position. And a woman is not called, is not authorized to exercise government over a man. It is illegal, brothers and sisters. It is trespass. Now, what is trespass? Trespass is linked to jurisdiction. Trespass is you trying to perform an action beyond your borders or beyond your jurisdiction, right? So trespass is you performing an act or trying to perform an act outside of the boundaries or the borders of your jurisdiction. So, for example, a practical example, if we were to, in a practical sense, trespass or trespassing is you going to a particular a complex or a building or an establishment that you're not authorized to, right? A place that is gated, and you break into that gate without permission or authorization from the owner of the complex or the building, right? That is trespass. So likewise here, similarly here, trespass is an individual going beyond their borders and within the context of the body of Christ, and specifically to the fivefold ministries, women are authorized. They're not authorized because of the ordinance of male headship. When a person occupies the seat of leadership in Yahweh's house through these fivefold ministries, you are exercising government over those within the ecclesia. And of course, men are part of the ecclesia, right? And that is why the Apostle Paul made reference to teaching. The women are to keep silent. It doesn't mean that they can't speak in church. What it means is within the context of you exercising the position of a teacher, that you're not authorized, my sisters. You are not authorized. Now you can teach other women, but to teach men, that is exercising government. For those that are unaware, right? The teaching position, you are a rabbi, you're a master. And so when you occupy the position, there are those who are learning from you, who are sitting at your feet. It is an act of submission. That is why. And so a man is not called to submit to a woman. Again, about jurisdiction. Now I'm going to address three common things. I'm going to have to do a part two. Right? Within the jurisdiction of the kingdom of heaven and in the ecclesia, a man submits to a woman when a woman occupies that seat of leadership as a teacher. Even more so as an apostle, as a bishop, as a prophet. These are all governmental positions of leadership in the ecclesia. So I'm going to do a part 2 to address the common questions or common responses to this truth.